So it is 3:05 and I am going to call the meeting to order. Visual roll call, we're all here. Additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda, and I have 3. Which I know is not standard, but I did have a meeting with the town manager. And we had some discussions about some things that she would like PRT to be involved with. And so I want to go through those today. One is the gazebo park renovation. The second is pool park renovation, which when I say that means the new restroom, its location, its design, et cetera, et cetera. And then bear-proof trash cans. So those are 3 topics that I spoke with her about that we're going to add to our list.
Gazebo's on there.
Yes, yes. Gazebo park renovation, pool park renovation, bear-proof trash cans. Everyone okay with adding those?
Yes. Yep.
Persons present not on the agenda. Anything to say, Todd?
Hi.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for setting up this. Moving on to consent agenda. Everyone got meeting minutes from our last meeting. Did anyone have any additions or corrections? If not, would we have a motion to approve those? Thank you, Jay. Second? Jesse, all in favor? Aye. Old business. Catamount Trail update. I probably have the most knowledge on that, so I will say that we are still waiting for documents. The attorney for the Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation had COVID and was out for 2 weeks, but is working on a boilerplate document, a boilerplate MOU, which the PRT can use going forward. But this specific one will be between Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation and the town of Green Mountain Falls for the use of Catamount property, which is what Historic is calling it. So, yeah, we'll get that from the lawyer. We'll submit it to the town attorney. All of this teeing us up for a perfect spring reopening of the Catamount Trail. That's what we're hoping for. Yes.
While we're on that,
Mhm.
in the summary that I put together, I modified that, that's included in the minutes. There was a hook there essentially. I commented that we had not heard back not received any feedback from either utilities group or the Forest Service. I've tried to contact Samantha Bush from the Forest Service. Her email does not work, although she's listed as a participant, an employee still. Do you think it would be wise to follow that up and just push a little bit? I don't want to tickle the bear, essentially, but I would like, we've got this open issue. Comments were made to us that pointed in a direction. We can accommodate the direction they set for Catamount. Catamount Trail, up to Garden of Eden is town or Historic Green Mountain Falls property. It's not their concern at all. Getting that clear, should we get that clarified?
I would like to see any kind of response made to something that came formally in writing.
Yeah, there was no, they implied that there would be such a response, and that's why I'm mentioning this. At the time of the meeting, at the time of the visitation, that was clearly part of the message.
Nancy?
I'm in the camp of, if we haven't heard anything from them, let's keep moving on.
I'm fine either way. I just wanted to make sure that we had something, some perspective of that.
So, so we had some staff people from those entities
Yeah.
who said there were potentially problems and they would let us know
Right.
if there were actual problems. Right?
That's correct.
So, and that was a year ago.
Mhm.
So they said they would give us a response a year ago and we've heard nothing. We've reached out to them and we're not hearing anything back. But we also know that we've mitigated those issues.
Mhm.
So in my mind, we're good. Not for me to decide. It's for our group to make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So I think the recommendation, you made a recommendation, then you spent a lot of time on the hook.
Right.
I think we need to make our recommendation and say, we were advised a year ago by these entities that if they had an issue, they would let us know. We've not heard from them. We've reached out and that's absolutely 100% true and accurate. And I feel comfortable making that recommendation to the board.
Okay, so when the documents, the legal MOU is put together,
Mhm.
I'll be at the board meeting that goes with, that follows up on that. And I'll make that general comment to the trustees at that time.
So I'm going to ask you if you will just go ahead and rework that recommendation. Send it out to the group, and at our next meeting, let's approve it with the MOU. That way we've all read it, we all sign off on it. It's a matter of public record and the Board of Trustees has an easy job to say.
I'll just add a reference to that.
But what is the context of the MOU? What will it be?
It basically is an agreement between Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation and the town of Green Mountain Falls to allow hikers to hike on the property.
Just for Catamount?
Just for Catamount.
Right.
It's a boilerplate. We can take that then next year or next on the list will be Mount Dewey. Let's do the same thing for Mount Dewey. The easement that Historic Green Mountain Falls has on the HB Wallace property was pretty intensive. It gave specific GPS locations and it really all we need is a broad agreement saying that we're going to allow the trail to be open. We're going to allow hiker access. And I think for that property, we're going to add that it can be used as a resource for fire mitigation, meaning if they need to stage something there, or if we need to store tools there, it's sort of a good spot.
I think that's an asset. It really is.
So I'll bring that MOU, to this group first and
And the statements on the follow-up, I expected follow-up separately from Forest Service on Catamount Trail and the utilities on Crystal. That commentary will only go for I'll only point that out for the Catamount Trail because that's the one that we're concerned with right now.
yes. And the Catamount property that Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation owns has an easement for use of the road from Belvedere to that point, which is included with the MOU. So I think that takes care of.
Perfect. Perfect.
I think that takes care of Colorado Springs Utilities. I've had a discussion with them about the easement.
Mhm.
They were unaware of it, but
Yeah.
we found it and
Yeah, the Colorado Springs Utilities does not have any part of that area, if my understanding is correct. So they really wouldn't be involved in that one. They might make a commentary later on Crystal Falls, but that's a different animal.
one at a time.
But we do have 1/3 of what is known as Crystal Trail is on town property.
That's correct.
So that's all we're concerned with.
And it seems like a best practice that we would put a sign saying you were entering forest lands at that point.
That's a legal question. I can't answer that.
You know, well, and if what Mr. Smith could have done was put up a no trespassing sign.
From what I understand, that's part of the legality.
Right, right.
So
But on the town trail, it is our responsibility to advise people when they're leaving a town trail. So I don't think it could hurt us in any possible way to say you're now entering a different space.
So would that apply to the Catamount Trail leaving at the end of the Garden of Eden?
I think so. Do you see an issue with that?
What?
Do you see any issues with that?
No.
I mean, it's a sign.
I don't know. You know, I'm good with that.
We need to, I don't know if the boundary there is well defined. There are signs for the Forest Service property higher up on the mountain, but it's not obvious to the naked eye exactly where they, I think it's town property bounding the edge of Garden of Eden is where that boundary actually sits.
There is a sign that says you're entering, if you were coming down, Greg, there's a sign that says you're entering Garden of Eden. Sit, property.
Okay, is that the property line?
It's not on the right side of the bridge, the correct side, I should say.
Yeah.
So we need to get up there with the GPS and guess as close as we can where that property boundary is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's well above the bridge and the Garden of Eden area, but
That's my,
May I make my statement another way? If that is marked and we think that to the best of our knowledge, it's accurate, then we don't need to go do something additional. 'Cause I'm hearing you say there's signage already there.
yes,
If it's from me to you, if it's from you to Jay off, I don't think that it's a big deal. When, if someone makes a claim or if someone asks us, if the Forest Service comes and says we want to straighten this out, then we would get GPS locations. But if it's marked and we're fairly comfortable with the way that it is, let's leave it.
if I'm gonna mark a boundary line, I want something more substantial than a GPS that can vary 15 feet.
Okay.
That's my personal opinion.
I don't think that, it sounds like just making a provision among ourselves to make sure that boundary is clear when the hiking season starts, then we'll be covered. Then we'll be then we have everything we have all the defensible arguments about using the trail. And that's all we need.
So you're thinking that the town needs to declare when they're leaving town property?
Just to, anticipating that something may come from the Forest Service at some point. If we have that in place, then there's no question when hiking season comes on. And just,
Until today, my perspective was let the property owner post their own boundaries.
Hmm.
So
okay, so Forest Service mark their own boundary.
that's
Okay.
for today, but I'm open for other perspectives.
You guys, and you guys know a lot more about trails than I do.
We can leave that, we can leave that sit if there's a discussion. If there's any further discussion or question from the trustees, that'll be the response I'll make.
Are we presenting that to the trustees right now?
So we're talking about the recommendation, right?
Right.
And whether the recommendation would include that we're marking, let's just not do it. I think the recommendation was solid the way that it was.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the recommendation then, it will include parking?
No.
No, will not
No.
include parking. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I heard it clearly. Okay, good.
Okay. Can we move on from Catamount Trail? Okay, next is wayfinding signage. So couple of components of that. One is the elimination of extra signage or sign pollution, and I know that Nancy has a report on that. And the second part of that is the restoration of some of the historic trail markers and wayfinding signage that were already in existence, entrance to town, et cetera, et cetera. So I am meeting with the signage person tomorrow to look at those signs that need to be renovated, so we can agree on scope and go ahead and get that moving. And that is happening at 10 o'clock, I believe. If anyone wants to join me, tell me now and I'll make sure that we have the time right. Or if it's just me, that is fine. I think it's at 10. Let me look. a.m.
We're at.
We'll start at Green Box. So I'll see anyone there who wants to join. We've looked at it before. We've all sort of agreed on it. It's just making sure that it gets all the way to the contractor. As we know with the tower installation, they need their handheld a little bit. So Nancy, do you want to talk about sign pollution?
Sure. So if you look at the packet, it has, I only put the pictures in for the towers that would have been affected. The other towers, I didn't put a picture in because with my eyes, I didn't see anything that needed to be removed. I don't know if you want me to go through each one of these, but I do have a couple of question marks on some of them.
If you don't mind just going through them all.
Sure. So the very first one is the fair sign at Ann and a Lake. There's a no parking for hiking beyond this point. It should be removed, that white with the red lettering. There's the purple dot, which we all know is the Mount Dewey Trail. I mean, we can keep the purple dot up there for the, for that breadcrumb, but I didn't know if we wanted to remove it since it says Mount Dewey right there too. So that one, I mean, it's not that big a deal. We can keep the purple dot there. The next.
So
one-
let's discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in favor of leaving
Yeah,
the purple dots. I mean, we sort of indicated that we would be adding more of those.
Yes.
So I don't see a reason to eliminate it.
Okay.
In fact, it sets a nice standard,
Okay. So we'll leave
but
that.
that's my opinion.
Anyone else? Good.
Good, good.
Good.
The more indicators,
Excuse me, just a quick heads up, Catherine's on now, so in order for her to hear, you'll need to use the microphones. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine.
use it. And
Hi.
you can say things with it. So things
the
like
second
have a beer.
one is the mountain lion at Belvedere.
I like that. Let's do it again. If you're using like an alternative
You don't
consultant
see it in the
for-
picture, but there's this big living with bears that is
For
just very
writing
wordy
or
and no one's gonna read it. If we're gonna
getting
have
with the
anything,
system,
maybe on the side where it says beware of bears, you have a little QR code that they can go to and find everything you want to know about bears, but I think we can remove that sign. The white no parking sign and the yellow no hiker parking. could be removed.
I agree, and I think that if someone comes along and wants a sign there, then they come to the signage committee and we dictate what that looks like and how it gets installed and where, and then we keep the
Yeah.
aesthetics the same.
Agreed. Moving on. The moose sign at El Paso Trail, I didn't see any signage that could be removed there. The butterfly at Maple Street, I believe Dawn had a additional removal possibly.
If you proceed across the bridge on the left-hand side on the utility pole, there is an old sign with half the letters that are already indistinguishable that reads no motorized vehicles, no horses, pedestrian traffic only in park. I would like to add that to the list.
I'll agree on that one.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll add that one to the list. The turkey at Lake Street. Didn't see any sign removals for that. The fox at Foster and Howard. There was no recommendation on that one. The goose at Gazebo Park, and this is the one that's close to the land office. So I did a close-up so you could see everything that's on the bigger tile.
Mhm.
And it pretty much takes care of that whole gazebo rule song, or
And,
the
and that was certainly my intent, was to put
Okay.
everything on that tile that was
okay.
turning 12 signs into one.
So actually that whole sign could be removed if needed or repurposed for something else.
I think you could,
We're at the goose. Maybe down. There you go.
yeah,
So that whole sign can be removed or repurposed. That can be discussed. There is a sign, please don't feed the geese. That's not on the tile. And the top sign says this project funded in part by Great Outdoors Colorado with funds from Colorado Lottery. Do we keep that sign? So discussion on that.
I have an idea.
On the other side of the lake, we have a gazebo sign talking about the historic nature of the gazebo.
Mhm.
If we could repurpose that sign and talk about the historic nature of the land office and possibly the Midland Railroad right away. The Midland.
I think that's a great idea.
Well-
So you're repurposing the frame, coming up with new language for the front. Correct,
Yeah.
about the land office and about Midland. I love that idea.
this, this area as well is, would be close to the Terrell installation going forward. So using that, adding that to that new sign, as the you probably would want to update this. I think July or mid-June is the expected opening. If we added something to that sign at that time, that would be a great connection.
So.
Do you want to have something there or?
Yeah, so either myself or someone else will come to this group about wayfinding signage for Terrell.
Okay,
There's going to be plenty of it on the Joyland property and
Mhm.
at the actual beginning of the lower trail. So my thought of what we should do here, I think we should leave the frame and the sign, eliminate all of the metal added signs because those are definitely sign pollution. And then make it one of our 2022 goals to rework the face of the sign.
Mhm.
and have it be about the Midland Trail and Land Office. I think it's a great suggestion.
Yeah, I like that too.
Thank you. I agree.
Sounds good.
Okay, and oops, I went out of order, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know. Can I make a comment on signs?
Sure.
I noticed, it seems like a lot of the no parking signs are being removed in lieu of neighborhood traffic only. Is that, I'm just worried, is that strong enough wording to enforce parking? Has this already been discussed?
Yeah, no sign enforces parking.
Okay, gotcha.
People with badges enforce parking.
But
Signs
doesn't there have to be
misrepresentation.
something that says that you can't park in a place?
It does. It has to be a Department of Transportation approved sign.
Okay,
Well, and
gotcha. I
plus-
figured you
So
probably
it's a-
had this
it's a different
conversation.
layer,
but-
Right. So there's different layers of signage, but personal signs that we go by or that we make, there's no legal requirement to enforce them. So if we would have to get DOT standardized signs. to do what
Which-
you're doing.
Right, but so let's say if the town had an ordinance or something in code that was stronger language about parking, and they have a sign machine that is DOT standard, which they do, is that something that could be, I guess, added if enforcement was necessary moving forward, I guess?
Yes, I mean. sure,
Okay.
Sure, that's starting, I think that's starting at the other end of this though, where there
Right.
would be, the Board of Trustees would come up with
Sure, yeah.
and we would work.
The actual stronger code language that would make that more
Yeah,
enforceable.
the point of wayfinding signage is not to notify people of legal obligations. It's assuming that most people want to do the right thing
Right,
and they, for clueless people, they
Yeah.
just turned off here and have never been to Green Mountain Falls, these help.
I just know every summer there's a, hullabaloo about people parking on my street and then, not me, but in, up top of Boulder, top of Hondo, top of Belvedere, and it's a problem. So I just wanted to make sure that,
In front of my house on Florence,
yeah, and I just want to make sure that maybe the town has a way to enforce that maybe in the future.
All of those properties.
Well, no, Nate, I have the same concern because when I was going through these and I'm like, is that tile supposed to be replacing those other signs?
Mhm.
But if you look up no parking images, the car with the sign with the circle through it, that is a no parking image.
Mhm.
So it doesn't necessarily come out and say with the negative, because we're trying to take the negative signs out.
Right,
And so this is more of a visual and more positive. So looking, the circle with the line through it with the car is a universal sign for no parking. But we don't have the negative words on
Right.
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
for it to be
Thanks.
legal, it has to have whatever the regulation.
Ordinance number on it.
Ordinance number and those kind
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
So this was more about eliminating sign pollution.
Sure,
And signs that have just been put out by neighbors and homeowners over decades that
yeah,
are in disrepair. And so
Okay.
this
Yeah.
this was an effort to clean it up.
okay.
And Nathan, I also like to add that private property owners have signs all the way up to the gate on Belvedere. I can
Mhm.
attest to. Every place you can park, there's a no parking sign. And if that doesn't curb people's idea of parking in illegal zones, I don't know what would.
Right,
But I'm in agreement with this committee and reducing the sign pollution and making it friendly.
Are there any, I don't know, I'm really asking the question. I don't think there are any regulations in the town to limit parking other than the agreement we have with the parking company. Are there any no parking, are there any Green Mountain Falls, no parking ordinances? I haven't seen them. I've kind of trolled through the town records and I don't see that. town ordinances.
Yeah, and I'm not totally positive. That would make sense though, what you're saying about, because I know down up here or down here, there's a sign about some traffic thing, but it references a specific ordinance, like you said. So I think that's not the case, that if the town wants to make a priority of, and I'm not saying it does, I'm just saying if it does, then they would need to strengthen the language in the code, and that makes sense. So.
Not within the realm of what this committee is doing. So
Yes.
we'll let the planning commission and the board of trustees take that on. We're gonna keep cleaning up the
Yeah.
junk signs. And actually, this was, this was approved by the board of trustees. We'll make a recommendation to have Public Works remove these. So that's,
Yeah, no, understood.
So going back up to deer, since I went out of order, that is the sign that is closest to the gazebo. Yep, that one.
Mhm.
I recommend removing around the lake gazebo sign. The no watercraft, no alcohol, social distancing. Once again, there's that big old thing about living with bears. I mean, I don't see a lot of people stopping and reading because that's way past most people's attention spans. And don't feed the geese. I have a question mark on that. So discussion on those.
I think since you've mentioned don't feed the geese is not on this other sign, that we have a sign made
Okay.
that goes on the tower. That talks about don't feed the geese or other wildlife.
I agree.
Both sides.
I think so. Should.
So that'd be on the goose also. The goose and the deer.
Okay.
Don't feed the geese on the goose. Okay. And everyone else agrees with the living with the bears and all the other signs that can be taken off around. Okay. And that's the end of the report, unless you have any other additions, corrections, ideas.
I think that's great, Nancy.
I have an idea for the gazebo sign. We just made a sign for the reservations. So, and it's kind of an ugly sign, but I'm wondering if any of this, is this main gazebo one going to be, or that the main one here is not going to be changed, the historical,
No.
probably part of it, right?
That stays.
I'm just wondering if you guys, just food for thought, we made a DOT sign and put it on the gazebo on the bridge just as a temporary thing to notify people that there's a reservation time for the weekend, basically, but it's not the most attractive sign. So it's down there right now on the basically at the foot of the bridge as you cross the bridge. But we just wanted a mechanism, and it actually says in the gazebo rental thing that the town puts up notification. There used to be a paper sign that I think was put out, but I don't think it was very visible or weather resistant. So we just kind of came up with this idea of a sign for now that can be kind of written on with a grease marker, basically erased and then refreshed. But if anyone has any better ideas, we'd certainly be up for suggestions on that. I was just thinking maybe there could be something on here, but I think ideally, really the entrance to the bridge is the best spot for something. So maybe we could come up with a better wooden type sign that would have like a almost like a dry erase type surface on it or something like that. But
So one thing is when the Board of Trustees approved the wayfinding signage, they sort of said that the signage committee would help with sign design and create, because there's a legend, so for town, for the sign that says town hall is black with white background or with white lettering. So that is the legend for town things. So it probably needs to fit into the legend of wayfinding signage. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do that, to design one to go there.
Somehow writable, kind of with a surface that
Yeah,
can,
and
or,
if the white tiles, you can actually write on with the dry erase.
okay,
So-
perfect.
So I'm picturing a black one, reservation, white below, and then you can just write in.
Okay, cool.
I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
I would think. As long as it's up. Because we got the right race, we're trying to get the schedule or anything out there. I'm sure that's gonna hold up.
Well, the problem is staff is not going to always be around to put it on and remove it after the time lapses. So basically I would update it like every Friday afternoon for that coming weekend. The dry erase, I don't think is a great idea actually, because that's so easily erasable, but I use this China pen that is actually like a grease oil thing that you really got to rub it to get it off. So that's what's there now. It's just a green reflective street sign looking thing. But it was what we came up with on short notice. So something that's durable, not totally easily erasable. Maybe even something that had like a Saturday, Sunday indicator already, maybe with even numbers or something that could be sort of a permanent, I don't know, that's kind of like a,
I'll make you a deal. You tell me what you want and I'll design it.
okay.
But I think we're getting off.
Hey, we're talking signs.
Yeah, we're talking signs. But we have a lot of ground to cover today too. So if you'll tell me what you want, I will. Work on it for you. Happy to do that.
So Jesse, are you wanting me to revamp, re-edit this or edit this report and then bring it back next meeting or just,
No,
what do we want to do with this?
I think if you will edit it with today's changes
Okay,
and send it on to Nate,
Okay.
it actually goes to Public Works for them to remove the signs.
okay.
And if we need to, I don't know if we need to tell you when that was approved by the Board of Trustees as part of that recommendation or not. So we'll just send it to Nate.
Okay.
And then Nate, if you'll let me know when they're removing those, the sooner the better, because when we take all those signs off, it's going to leave holes. And so
Sure.
I'm having those all restored. So
Okay.
I have all that patched and painted at the same time.
Okay. Did you move and second to approve all those changes?
We didn't because we're in old business, but we will.
Oh,
Don's always ready with the motion.
Yes. I move that we approve, thank you. Approve as presented by Nancy with the modifications. I move that, we approve it with changes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Got it. Right, Nate, you'll be getting those. Thank you, everybody. And Don, we go on to you to talk about PRT parking privileges.
How would you like me to present it? Has everybody read it? Does anybody have any comments? While you're thinking, I did have some comments that were made by Rocco Blassie. One in paragraph 3 or number 3 on the first page, I referred to the PRT office as president, and I think it more correctly should reflect chairman. And the other thing I wanted to add, which was not in there, was that with this parking privilege permit, that we would not in any way block any emergency vehicle access, i.e., parking in front of a fire hydrant. The other thing I wanted to ask, because it wasn't clear to Rocco when he read this, was our ability to negotiate with private property owners for parking access. It wasn't exact. He thought that the city was giving us permission to gain access, or he submitted that the city or the town does not have authority to cause people, private owners, to give parking access. That's not what was implied by my language. And if anybody thought so, I could change it. But as it is right now, we're just asking permission to negotiate with private property and commercial owners on behalf of the town to access and park on private property for trail and park issues.
So let's have some discussion. And I can start, or you can start, Jay. I almost feel like this is outside of the PRT realm. Part of me thinks that. I understand it's necessary. That if the Friends of the U.S. Trails is doing trail maintenance and they want to park in certain places, that's the point of this, correct?
Not totally. I mean, I would like, as a PRT committee member, I would like if the opportunity to go and inspect the parks, the trails, and have access to the gate there on the Old Falls Road to get up there to the trailhead, or any agent or, the volunteers.
I understand that. I think we have a lot of fish to fry. When we look at our 2022 goals, how would you feel if we made this one of our goals for 2022?
I would accept that.
Okay. I think it's a strange time to try to do that with everything else that we have on our list. Let's set it as a goal so that we continue to have it on our list with hopes to get it achieved. Because I do understand the need for it. I think it's a good goal.
I think that the way that the government is set up for the town, it seems like it ought to start with, the authority ought to start with the PRT, and then the PRT delegate it to other agents that it needs to. So that was my perspective. It's not immediate. It doesn't, we don't need, we've done it all these years without it, but moving forward, it would be awesome that if we had that convenience, and I think it would be definitely a tool to recruit volunteers and keep and retain them, because we're multiplying the hours that we can actually work on site instead of getting to the site. But I thought there'd be a lot more discussion in the group. And so.
Well, I think you sort of nailed it when you said we've been without it all this time. I don't know that what we're doing with the parking, with town parking, really has an effect up there. Other than this parking pass would notify if there was a complaint, this would notify that we're a PRT member. So that part of it I see as being really valid. So I think we put it as one of our 2022 goals. And then when we prioritize them in a few minutes, we can decide where it goes.
Very well.
That's my opinion. I'm still, discussion is still open.
I gave some feedback to Don in an email. It was basically not so much policy, but it was, there's no Scott Avenue. It's Iona Avenue, but also with the parking company, we would have to work with them also, have authority to be able to work with them because my trail ambassadors who are out of town and come to volunteer for trail ambassador, I got authority from the town staff they can contact the parking company directly and have parking for free on that day when they volunteer. So that's something else we sort of should look at and, see if we're having volunteers come in on a weekend, make sure they're not paying to volunteer in our town.
So I'll tell you what, Don, I actually have a meeting with the town manager and Interstate about adding the Joyland parking lot and the historic parking lot to paid parking, because that was part of the annexation agreement. So I will add PRT and Trail Ambassador parking to that discussion and see if there's a way that we can handle it that way. Or at least I can get information to bring back when we're working on that goal. Does that make sense?
What's your thoughts on if we, contract with a trails maintenance group and they're asking for that type of parking privilege to gain access to the trailheads? What's your thoughts on approaching that need?
So I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree that we need that in place, that it's important. I think our recommendations to the Board of Trustees need to be, we need to solve the problem and say, here's an issue, here's how we think it should be fixed and a complete, and you're close. I just don't think that we're quite ready. I think it's close, and I think it's definitely, we should make it a goal. I think PRT could easily manage those for both the Trails Ambassadors and Friends of the Ute Pass Trails or Mile High Youth Corps, whoever's working on the trails. It extends to others. Basically, it's a way to notify the community at large when there's a contractor or town committee working in a place. So I see it not just being PRT, not just being Friends of the Ute Pass Trails, but other, maybe we do the same thing for any contractor that the town has working. So I just think there's more to flush out here. And I'm kicking the can. I don't want to kick the can, but I am.
Maybe look at it in June, something like that.
Yeah, I think we'll put it on the 22 list, and then I think we'll prioritize that here today. I'm going to write it on my version right here, right now. We don't know yet when they're going to start enforcing parking this year, according to the town manager when I talked to her today.
What's that?
We don't know when enforcement's going to start up again. It may not be until June. So I think we have a little bit of time.
Jesse, did you say something about a committee meeting? That you were... Okay.
All right. We're going to move on to new business. The Mount Dewey Trailhead erosion with possible relocation. Don, do you want to discuss? I'd like you to present.
Here again, I hope everybody's had a chance to read the information that was submitted on this topic. But basically, there was the Friends Trails Committee identified a potential erosion problem on the trailhead on Dewey Mountain. And so I and Nancy and a few others met with them to look at the situation. And as you can see by, in the pictures, that there's definitely an erosion problem there. It needs to be addressed. And so they're recommending to us a couple options to fix the problem for us to consider and make a recommendation to the as to how we want to address that. The language that's used here and we have original alignment, pros and cons. We have alternative alignment, pros and cons. There is one item in there that was highlighted in red under the pros, under alternative alignment. It states entire trail is on a historic foundation property. That was an item that was added by the Friends Committee, Trail Committee, as to whether or not they wanted to submit it this way. They added it as an option for us to decide whether or not we wanted to include it in on the official records. Any questions?
I actually was on Dewey this morning. If I understand correctly, there, the proposed location for the general grade is almost on the wet, is where the trail, where the driveway is further, that's further up the driveway than what has been. That's about 100 feet up.
Yes. And you also notice the right-of-way, the town right-of-way also veers down to that property corner as well.
Is that a marker that's like a pipe?
That is a survey marker, yes.
Not sure from the picture, so. Okay.
Is there any discussion?
So I think procedurally, you're making the town aware that there's an erosion problem on historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation's property. So I think this group should make a recommendation to historic, which has been done. It's certainly been discussed with me already. But I think as far as procedurally, the town's not fixing this, historic is, and it's on their property. So, so they have agreed to the steps on the original alignment. They've agreed to that and they've funded that. I think procedurally for PRT, we're notifying that there's an erosion problem. We're making some recommendations. And then the property owner, historic, is choosing to go with the original alignment. And I think historic, then it would be on them to ask the planning commission if they need a permit to do it and go from there. So if there's any permits, if there's anything needed by historic to move forward with that project, then they can take care of it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion as a PRT committee member that we accept the recommendation or make a recommendation to Historic Foundation that the erosion problem be addressed by the steps option, the original alignment as proposed, with approval of the planning committee.
I think what we need to do, I don't think we need a motion to do that. I think we do need a motion to make a notification and actually it'll happen in the staff report or committee report back to the Board of Trustees that PRT's been advised of this erosion problem, that they've notified the owner, and we're basically just keeping the Board of Trustees in the loop. So this goes in the committee report. So I don't think there's a motion. I don't think there's an action.
I withdraw the motion then.
Okay, all right. But I mean, thank you so much for putting all this together, because it really, it's been helpful from historic's vantage point to know what to do the right thing and to budget for it. But I think it's important to just keep the Board of Trustees in the loop that we've had this discussion, that there's been options discussed, they're a matter of record. And then it's on historic to go to Planning Commission to get permits.
So we're basically, as a PRT, acknowledging this communication between this contractor and historic foundation work that's going to be done.
Right,
Got it.
right. We are advising the Board of Trustees there's a problem, and we've made some recommendations to have them fixed.
Very good.
We really have no powers here except for to make recommendations and notifications to the Board of Trustees at this time.
Understood.
At this time.
And just keeping the BOT in the loop as to what's going down. That's the main is having that transparency and good communications.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for presenting that. I keep turning the page that has my agenda on it. Maybe this is easier on Zoom. I have everybody. Next thing is goals. Okay. So I have drafted a status report. You've all seen. Yeah. So at the top of so this is the document that you submitted. And then the last page, I have done a 2022 draft goals. So let's work through getting this to a place that I can present it to the Board of Trustees. Are there any changes to what was submitted that were related to our 2021 goals? So if it's okay with you guys, I will present that as it is. Then let's work through our draft objectives for 2022. So I'm going to take some notes here as we go through and beef these up with a little bit more language. Trying to think how I can do this and it'll make sense. So number one, participate in the gazebo park renovation. That's going to be in, that's new business that wasn't on the agenda. So we'll go back to that. And I'm going to present you all with a packet and tell you what I know of that's happening at the gazebo park renovation and what we've been tasked to do. So I have that as a goal. Does anyone object to that goal? The second one is to participate in the restroom location and design for Pool Park, the trailhead location, which we've decided already, and the trash receptacle, bear-proof trash receptacle. So this is a holdover from 2021. The town does have funding for the vault restroom or pit restroom there. And they've asked for us to help in the design and deciding the location for that. That'll be in packet I present after this. They have also asked to, one of our goals last year was to do bear-proof trash cans at the trailheads and at specific points in town. They have a line item in the budget for those trash cans. It doesn't seem like they included the existing trash cans in what we needed to do. So we need to look at the budget number, the number of trash cans that are needed, the ones that we've already got, and make a recommendation to the Board of Trustees as to how we think they should do that. So I have a little bit of information on that I will present next. Any objections to us helping on that one?
Necessary.
Opening of the fitness court for the pool park is obviously one of our goals for 2022. Trail maps, we talked about at the last meeting, wanted to either figure out our trail maps.
Mhm.
So no objections to that being a goal.
Absolutely not.
Continue working on our agreement with the Friends Group. Spring Workday. Fall Creek cleanup, Fall Creek Week cleanup. Can't talk today.
So we didn't have a spring work day last year, correct?
Correct.
So this is, okay.
And I'm going to keep going unless I hear objections that
Yep.
for goals. Engage the community to confirm or imagine park names. That was something that the Board of Trustees asked us to do. So that's a pullover from 2021. Reopening of the Catamount Trail. Trailhead and wayfinding sign restoration, which we talked about earlier.
Is that including like some of the extra breadcrumbs we were talking about? Okay.
I really see this as a holdover every year
Yeah.
that we're gonna be working on signage
Yeah.
forever because
It'll change.
Nate will make something ugly and say, make it pretty. Hard time.
This would include repainting and restoring the sign at the head of Lake Street.
Yes,
It's very likely. Yeah, that would be a really good thing.
yes.
That's a nice
Yeah.
At Lake Street.
thing.
It's restoration of the entrance signs and any of the historic wooden signs that we decided to keep when we started working on wayfinding signage, I think last year. And that's what I'm meeting the contractor for. That's all paid for through a grant, and I think we need to spend it out. Plus, it's time to get those signs done.
Yeah.
But to Nancy's point, it's left open because we have the breadcrumb signs that we still want to work on, more signs between the Welcome Center and Catamount Trail. Just more bread signs for people to follow, or the blue dots or the
Up at the
purple
end of
dots.
Hondo, the turnaround, just something there, even at the top of Catamount Trailhead, some nice signage up there. That would be nice.
So I think every year we'll probably be asking for a small budget for signage, and it'll be open-ended for whoever's here next. Reseeding Flagpole Park is a holdover from last year, which I think is important. I've added is number 13, parking passes. And Nancy, we need to have the Trails Ambassadors schedule as a goal. That was one of our goals last year, so we need to repeat that. Anything else? So we've all had time to think about this since the last meeting. What did you all have that I didn't catch here? Do you have anything? Anything, Don? Nancy?
I think 14 is enough goals, don't you think?
I think it's a few more than we had last year. We got a lot done last year, and then we also made recommendations on lots of things that we didn't anticipate talking about. So I think this is a good number. And it's all going to start happening real soon. Season's almost upon us. So someone should make a motion that this be presented to the BOT as our status update at the next BOT meeting.
Status update or a master plan?
Master plan. You're right, Don.
I make the motion that we approve. I make a motion that we approve the 22 master plan as presented.
Second.
I'd second it.
And
Oh,
sorry, just to clarify, there were items that were added to the document from the packet that you'll get to me,
Right.
right? Okay.
This,
thank
this will be a replacement of that,
Gotcha.
that list or additions to that list.
you. Thanks.
so I'll submit that to you, and I will do the master plan presentation in person. All right, Nancy. Next on the agenda is all the new business, all the other new business.
It was the gazebo renovation,
Okay.
and then you added the 2 other things.
I'm going to do this in the order that this comes off the packet. And Nate, this was all part of the Board of Trustees packet for February the 1st. It was all in that agenda packet. So these documents have been presented once and can be found there. Let's see. And I apologize that these didn't come out sooner, but I got these from town manager today, and it seemed like the right thing to do to get them on the agenda with your consent, and at least have a brief discussion of what's happening. So the first thing that we're going to look at is this ROMTech design options. So these are design options for the vaulted toilet. There's a diagram or blueprints here of that project. We can pick the exterior siding, we can pick the wainscot. So we are going to make some recommendations here. And I think it's great that she's asked for us to participate in this. So we'll make some recommendations about how it looks and where it goes. I don't think that we need to go into it any further today, other than saying, she's going to have recommendations on how it gets cleaned and interior things that have to do with public works. But we can really make a impact here on how it looks and where it goes. So I'm going to task you all with going through this and working through it at our next meeting.
So is this like, having just done a house, you have, what are those called? Where you can only spend so much money. Each option has a different money value. So do we know that? Do we know the budget? Do we know what or do we just get to go shoot for the moon and then figure it out from there?
We know the budget is 70,000, and I will have more information about about these different options, and maybe I can get costs on those. We may just make recommendation 1 and 2.
Okay.
First and second option on those. But have a look at this, and if I get that, I can send that out to the group. for further information before our next meeting. Is that okay to handle that way?
Mhm.
So no action, deferred to old business. Yes.
If I can ask the just the one piece that I didn't understand and this was the new laboratory facilities, where would those be located?
So that is also something that we're going to recommend.
Okay, so I didn't know if that had already been defined in this proposal.
So basically, the grant was approved, monies were allocated, and we're taking next steps.
Yeah.
So we're really driving a recommendation here.
Okay.
We should keep floodplain in mind. Should keep the creek in mind. We should keep accessibility for it to be pumped, because it'll have to be pumped frequently. So we should keep all those things in mind. And if you don't know where to start, we can look back at the map that Jay did last year for the welcome sign, welcome center, because that had the whole park on it. Once we collectively decide as a group, the fitness court folks still owe us a blueprint and rendering of the park, so we can have them add this in and make a really nice presentation.
Jesse, I just recently came across some architectural drawings by Dick Bratton of the gazebo park. And they look rather accurate from, my inspection on footages and locations and parking and buildings and stuff like that. So it's on a blueprint right now. Whether we can use that in the future, I just want to put it out there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing it's there is great. There should be some mechanism. Maybe we can ask the Board of Trustees in the committee report, Nancy, if you'll just make a note. Not really our committee, but in general, if people have historical documents like that, how could we get them scanned and put into town artifacts? Not only for us to use, but for everything that was lost at Town Hall when it burned is probably sitting in boxes in people's houses. So I think capturing that when you find things like that makes sense. I think it's a great thing for us to make an advice on or a recommendation on, and then let the board take it up. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I'm saying great. I'm glad you found that. Let's absolutely use it as this group, but let's make it better and make it a town artifact too.
I make a motion, sharing is caring.
But Nancy's gonna make a note that I mentioned that in our committee report.
Would you like something more formal?
Because there's no real action other than it's gonna go in the committee report. The next bit, and there's a lot of it to read, is about I'm just gonna talk freely, is about the gazebo park renovation. So you have a copy of the grant application. You have a copy of a proposed draft RFP. And you have a copy of a suggested timeline. And town manager would really like to have this awarded by April the 5th. I think it's probably too much for us to go. Well, it's up to you guys. Do you want to go through this now as a start? My feeling is that we probably meet again in 2 weeks and
Let's do Give us some time to absorb it.
And here's the real deal, as you're thinking through that, is we have a short timeline. We've been given a grant which specifies what has to be done. So we don't have a lot of leeway. Our leeway was in the grant application, which we all sort of approved back when Deanne Liu did that. So we know the base of what's happening. But the town manager would like someone from PRT to, let me find the notes here. Another thing to keep in mind is this sort of needs to happen in line with the silt basins going in, because they connect at many levels. So timing those two projects together sort of makes sense. The stilling basins.
Excuse me, Jesse, I didn't hear that clearly. It times with the something station. I didn't hear that clearly.
So the town manager would like to do the two projects in tandem because they have so many touching points.
Okay, what's the other project is the fitness court?
No, the town stilling the stilling basins, saying that right?
Yeah, the stilling basin. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So the
the,
For the
drainage
runoff.
ports for the
Okay.
runoff.
Mhm.
Those are obviously going to connect to
I
the
see.
lake. And so
Okay.
doing this, timing this together and making them
no,
cohesive, this is an opportunity to
Mhm.
not
yeah, one
have
set
any
of
regrets.
one set of equipment in the town at a time, or, so that you don't undo the work of one project as you do the other.
Exactly, exactly. So, so the town manager has asked that someone from PRT, as a group, we're going to review the RFP. We're going to review add alternates, because if it comes in over budget, then they will be looking at add alternates. So that's a way that we can make change. We'll be involved with pre-construction meetings. We will be working with her to successfully phase out the projects. And basically, we could help her with project management on this project. Of course, I have a lot of experience in all this. I am also maxed. I'm just about maxed out.
Mhm.
Don, I know that you showed some interest in this. As a
I
group-
do have construction experience too. I ran a, construction rehab when I was in Kansas.
I'd like to learn.
So collectively, as a group, we're going to be involved, but I would like to appoint someone to be the point person.
Does that need a motion? Or do we just,
It's executive privilege.
Yeah, I don't think that we need a motion for that. If I'm wrong, we'll make one at the next meeting, but I don't think that we need to do that because we're still doing it as a group, but we have one point person. So that, I don't think it needs one.
I would be fine with Don covering this. That's a good start. I could contribute or help, but I'd be tied up a good bit of month of March. So if you need assistance, I'm there to help or cover things if you're not able to do something. But if you could be point person, Don, that would be, I think, the best match of experience and situation.
Can we just carbon copy all the messages? So be there if you can, can't.
BCC everything, and we'll go from there.
Perfect. This is really exciting
Yeah.
that our group, not only is it feels like a privilege that we're getting to help. Town managers actually asking for our input and for our help. And I think that's a win. That gives us a reason to come back in 2 weeks and talk about parking passes and clearing up trail obstructions and making good signs. I feel pretty proud driving through town and some of our work is up and it was,
I've never
received-
heard more compliments in the town grapevine than about those signs. They're awesome. I'm proud to be part of it.
yeah, me too. Good job, team.
So do you want an action item that the committee reviews this before the next meeting?
That's a great, yes, that is great. And then let's go ahead and set our next meeting date.
When you back in GM Falls. Are we going back to Zoom? We're going back to Zoom?
Well, let's see.
Or we'll all drive to Oklahoma.
Like that.
Road trip.
So actually, I will be presenting to the Board of Trustees on February the 1st. So I will be here on the 2nd,
March 1st.
March 1st. Yep. So I will be here on the 2nd. So we could do it in person again. Sometime, same place.
We're having fun with the microphones. First, 3 o'clock.
I need the agenda to just like hang right here for me.
I think you already did the 2 added. I
Mhm.
think you're good. You can do like the correspondence. and reports.
And is there any correspondence? I don't think so. And I'm sorry to backtrack, but I want to add one more thing to the goals, and you guys help me figure out the language. Was we have the the garden at Olathe, and we have the planters at Gazebo Park, and we have the benches at Park Street, and we have the area that we adopted and have done nothing about. So let's add that to our goal list, that we recognize improved areas on town property with with
Signage.
signage and with thank yous to the community members that have just taken that on over time. Anybody have anything else before I adjourn us? All right, at 4:27 PM, we are adjourned.